Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to On the Brightline podcast, tales from recovering food addicts from the perspective of a physician, a therapist, and an off-the-wall storyteller. We are not affiliated or endorsed by Brightline Eating, and all content presented in this podcast represents our personal opinions and does not represent medical, nutritional, or psychological professional advice. On today's episode, we're going to talk about what is community and what that can mean to your program and how you can utilize community for accountability and the like. So we can start with, do you want to start, Bonnie, talking about your experience with community in the Brightline Eating community?
So the first entrance into the community for me was the Facebook group. Once you become a member of Brightline Eating, you can join you are welcomed into the Facebook group, which is a closed group just for people in the program, which is nice because you're talking about your body and your weight and some very personal things. And it's a nice community in the sense that everyone's kind of on the same journey. Everyone's pretty kind in that community. When I first joined Brightline Eating, there were separate communities for people in each wave of a boot camp. So you were actually in a small group of people that were just in your wave.
Your cohort.
Now it's everybody all in one. So they've been combined all into one. So it feels a little less personal, but you do see some of the same people posting again and again. I think it's a place where people can provide a lot of support because there's so many people in that Facebook group. I like when I see somebody that's having a vulnerable moment. They're like, I'm really having a hard day. I just need to let everybody know for my own accountability. I'm gonna try to get through this day. And lots of people hop on and give love and support and say nice things. Sometimes people can get a little
Preachy.
Or worked up about somebody accidentally mentions a food, and unfortunately, that can be very triggering for some people in a very bad place of addiction. So you need to be careful. But that was my first experience with the Brightline Eating community.
Yeah, and you would I know just because I know you that you have gone deeper and that there was a in-person community that you got involved with.
Yeah, I through the Brightline Eating community, you can actually find people in your area who are in the Brightline Eating program, which is cool. And a person in my community set up a meetup group, with the Brightline community that lives in my town. And so we started trying to meet, on Friday mornings, like at 9:00. And initially there was like 5 or 6 people, which is kind of amazing because we were a really small community. So the fact that many people were in Brightline and he did the call, and it was really kind of cool. The challenging part was, I would say myself and one other person were really working the program, and the other people were kind of doing it on the periphery. And so, we're kind of...
So different levels of dedication.
Yeah, and that made them really uncomfortable, right? To be around us talking about how we were working it really closely, that made them really uncomfortable. And then they started not coming, and it ended up just being me and this one other person. And then we went from once a week, and then work. I still work. That other person is retired but does some work, and some of the other people travel, and it just kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. I found that I get something out of it if I'm having a strong day, that I feel like I can be supportive of someone else, and if I'm having a challenging day, being in the presence of someone else who's having a better time of it than I am was nice. And we had that one other person, and I had multiple of those experiences. I mean, I'm in a benefit that I have somebody at home that's also doing Brightline. I have you guys. So I also have this community, right? Just this community of friends and family. I mean, a lot of people don't have anyone else in their life doing this. So it's just crucial to connect with somebody. But so I would like to have more of physical community, not just my friend circle, to meet with. But I think given my geographic limitations, that might be challenging.
Right.
At least in person.
So it's that idea of kind of the different layers and different levels, right? Whether that's the in-person, whether it's the friend group that does it with you, or whether it's the virtual support group. Yeah. What about you, Megan?
Yeah.
Tell me about your
Well,
walk.
I think that I've been thinking about this a lot, the community aspect of Brightline, because I've been going back through the boot camps. And so
Okay.
they just put out a new boot camp 2.0. So as a member, I have access to that. And I just thought, oh, it'd be nice to kind of go back through a refresher. I did go through boot camp, or bright beginnings, whatever you want to call it, when I started in December and January, but I decided to go back through. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is Susan does put out there that, there are these places that you can put a call out for community and put a call out for buddy and put a call out for a mastermind group and all this kind of stuff. But I will say from my experience, it's not that easy.
And so tell me what you mean by it's not that easy.
So I think finding people, and I think it's a lot like what Bonnie was talking about, is like finding like-minded people who you connect with on a level of sincerity and dedication to the program.
Yeah, depth is what I was thinking of.
Absolutely. And I think that can be a struggle. And I think the other thing is that I think some people are isolated and may be looking for, just companionship or friendship and maybe not as interested in the program work. Whereas other people, and I being one of them, is my intent was for finding people that were as dedicated to the program as myself to really be accountable to, because that's what I was looking for in the community. Is I was looking for accountability. So I've thankfully found that. I mean, I feel good about that, but I do think that it's not just as easy as, just put a call out and you're going to find somebody.
Right, that maybe not all Brightliners are created equal.
Yeah, I don't even say that. I just think it's where people come from. I think it's what they're coming from and what they're bringing. I mean, a lot of us are coming from trauma, and
Yes.
We're bringing that to the table and whatever baggage that looks like. And so I think that's a big piece of the puzzle is maybe finding people that have like. This is going to sound horrible, but have like trauma or like baggage, so that
But also like people that are working on their trauma, right? Because some people, they want community, they want to connect with people and then just dump their trauma onto the rest of the group,
Right.
and not do the work themselves and not actually engage in the program.
Yeah.
So it just ends up being a really unhealthy thing for everybody, because that person's
Right.
basically using the group to avoid and deflect needing to do their work.
Sure.
And then the group, while is full of people also with their own struggles, now feeling guilt or like they have to carry this person,
That they're
right?
carrying that person's
And so,
trauma.
yeah, I think you have to find people, like you said, that are the same depth, that are at the same place. I mean, if you're just somebody that wants companionship and somebody to dump your trauma on, then find some other people that are in that boat too. And maybe you need to work through that for a certain period of time until you're ready to really engage in the program. And I mean, we're all at a different
Yeah.
place at a different time, right?
The analogy that I use is that it's like climbing a mountain, right? And if you're saying I'm here, I'm ready to go, I want to work this program, I want to work it hard and deep and look at all the facets of that, you are actively climbing the mountain. And some people start climbing the mountain and go, this is really hard, I don't know that I can do this, and they will kind of sit down on the mountain. And it is really difficult to be the person that is really busy trying to climb the mountain,
Yeah.
and the other person may be saying, I want to climb the mountain, but I can't. I'm
Yeah.
not ready to. Or they're just at a place where they need to sit down, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying, I
Absolutely.
need to sit down
Yep.
for a little bit. I can't progress up the mountain, as fast as you are. But that could make it difficult to have maybe an accountability partner, right? A Brightline partner that is not really ready to be climbing up the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're meeting with people, I know that the BLE program provides a structure for mastermind groups, is what they call them. If you have a group of people you're meeting with, and it should start with everybody giving a gratitude, saying something good that's happened, something they're grateful for, talking about a win that they've had, celebrating a win, and then kind of working through how they are going to address their challenges for the week. It should not devolve into talking about food that you've eaten off plan.
Yeah.
In front of people that are trying to, you know what I mean? I don't know what, the AA program is like. And I think eventually in our podcast, we should bring someone in.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to someone that has battled both food and alcohol
Right.
addiction. But I'm going to guess it's kind of the same thing. If you go to an AA meeting, I don't think they want people, going on about their binges
Right.
and how much fun they were. So,
Right. Right.
I think you want to talk about what you're going to
Fair.
do, right? What you're going to do to try to prevent that from happening again. Perfectly okay to admit, man, I had a problem and I fell off the wagon, but I'm here for support, and I don't want to do that again. I know, I think in Meagan's group and in the one I was into in my local community, I had somebody talking about, well, but I ate this and it's okay. Because I've just decided that's okay for me.
I'm going
And
to
it was just
rationalize why I
it's
did
like,
that.
you're having a group discussion with people who are trying to basically remain sober about how you've made
Right.
some exceptions and those are great for you. So you're looking for some
Right.
validation for that.
Yeah.
Right. And so that idea of what happens if there are people in your group that are making
Right.
excuses, rationalizations, right? Or even kind of hyper focusing, one of my terms I love is called cows, crisis of the week. It's so easy to sit and talk about my crisis of the week and hyper fixate on that, as opposed to saying, right, great, I did this thing. Now what would I like to do about it?
Yeah.
Right. And that's a concept called radical acceptance. I don't need to sit and hyperfixate on the mistake that I made, the thing that I did that I would prefer have to not done, but the deeper meaning of, so now what do I do about that? How do I not do that again? And so gotta get away from the cows.
Yeah, you need your community to be
Get away
people
from
who
the
are.
cows. Robin dropping truth bombs over here. Love it.
So Meagan, I know you had an experience with a group that wasn't all a good fit. How do you recommend, I think, what Susan says is not a bad idea in the sense that, I don't know, let's say it's not, somebody doesn't have the beautiful thing that we have, which is to have this whole group of us that are already
Yeah.
doing this
Yeah.
together in person, right? You're doing this alone. You don't have support at home. No one at home's doing it.
Right.
So you pitch out to the Facebook group and you say, hey, I live in this area. I'm hoping to find a mastermind group. And then people do kind of hop on. So then you start to form a little group.
Yeah.
What are ways that you can set boundaries up front? What do you do if somebody is falling outside the parameters of what the group has decided they want to, function as, that type of thing?
Actually, I think Susan does a great job of outlining a lot of this. She goes through, and there is a guideline for the mastermind group specifically, which you can follow as a one-on-one. Like, you don't have to just use it for a group of people. You could do it if you had a one-on-one relationship too. But I think the biggest thing is, following a plan and making sure that you set forth that these are the intentions of, we are going to do we are going to give the time allotted. I mean, my mastermind group has been meeting for months and we still use a timer for people's share time.
Oh,
We
I
set
love
a
that.
timer because, and most of the time, I know that I'm hearing some giggles in the audience from my mastermind group. It's because we don't have enough to talk about to fill the space, but we want to make sure that everybody has the same amount of time and the same amount of space. And I think that that's really important, is that these relationships in this community are two-sided relationships, and that no one should feel like they're carrying somebody else. And not that there won't be times that someone is struggling and that the other person or the other people will need to help lift them up, but that has to be mutual, and that you also feel like you can't, you can have a hard time and then share that with your group and be lifted
that's
up.
so hard.
So it is, I mean, for sure. But I think that that's the special sauce. That's the magic of being part of this community and finding people who you feel like you can be that vulnerable with. And I just want to say, I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's easy.
Yeah.
And I want to say it again. I don't think it's easy. And anybody who's struggling to find community, I'm with you. I get it. And I just don't want you to feel like you're failing because you're struggling to find the people, because it's not just a simple overnight solution. I think sometimes you got to try on. It's like dating.
Yep.
Robin and I were talking about
Yep.
this earlier. It's like dating. You kind of got to try some people out,
Yep.
see how they feel. But I think the other thing to remember is, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, right? We can't continue to push into a relationship that's not working for us, that's not serving us. Because again, this is our lives we're talking about. This is, for me, my health and my life was on the line for me succeeding in this program and continuing to succeed in this program. So I think for me, I was very dedicated to finding the group of people that were going to serve me really well. And I just want to say that the Bright Line Eating Program does have the Facebook group, and it has the circles on the website, on the hub. So it's got those two things. But I want you to know there's a big BLE community on other social media platforms. Yeah. It's not just there. And I think that it is not as organized as what's on, Facebook and on the hub, but not that it can't be, and not that it won't be, because I feel like there's traction being gained in that organization. But I've had someone reach out to me specifically on Instagram and say, hey, I'm looking for a guide, would you be willing? And so I think that there are other, Instagram, TikTok. That's why I started my Instagram and my TikTok, because I felt like there wasn't a community there, and I wanted to find that. And I feel like I'm not young, but I'm, younger, skew on the younger side of the BLE community, that's where people more my age are living, is on those other apps. And so I personally wanted to make the jump off of Facebook onto the other apps to make, because if we live in a virtual world, I mean, like, let's be honest, there's not, I mean, there might be people around me, but I live in a virtual world. So,
well, and so do you want to take this moment to mention what sort of people that have maybe found us just through the podcast or through Facebook? Yeah. Do you want to mention who we are on Insta?
Yeah, for sure. So we have, so Robin has her counseling Instagram practice, Two Creeks Counseling. Two Creeks Counseling. Mm-hmm. We have On the Bright Line podcast is an Instagram account. We have a TikTok, we have a YouTube, we have all the things. Mm-hmm. And then I also have a BLE focused Instagram account and TikTok account. It's BLE Meagan for Life, the number 4. So if you're looking for us, and then Bonnie's our social media enigma. So we love her. She's the mystery. We love her, but she doesn't have to be active on socials if she doesn't want to. But I do think it's important to know that I'm not alone. Out there on the BLE, someone who has a BLE focused Instagram/TikTok. There are others out there, and if that is your jam, if you like to live on those and that's where you find encouragement, I would there's a couple of hashtags that I think are really important. On Instagram, it's the BLE Gram Fam. That's the hashtag. Mm-hmm. And if you search that hashtag, you'll find the people. That's where the people are. So if that's, and it's not as significant on TikTok yet. It's still a growing community, but that's just to let everybody know that there are communities out there that are outside of the structured ones through BLE. And I'm not saying that those are bad. I don't think that they're bad. And I don't want to, make it sound like that, but I just think there's a big world out there, and you got to find people where you connect. And if that's where you connect, if you're connecting on, social, go find those people on the social. So.
Well, I feel like I look at Facebook. It's funny because I don't use Facebook for anything else really other than BLE. And I look at Facebook once or twice a day, and I just look to see other people's stories, to offer encouragement, to, I don't post very much, but I comment on some people's things, and I think of that as a service, and it also keeps me mindful that I'm doing this forever. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is my life. And so it keeps me kind of immersed in that. And I think that, and because it's sanctioned by BLE, it's monitored. And so it does help control, people giving weird advice, or, it kind of keeps
and people promoting their own stuff.
Yes. It's nice because it's just people talking about their stories. And so that's how I use the Facebook group, and then the other social media is more for maybe more direct connection, right? Mm-hmm. And so I definitely think there's different ways to do it. I think the bottom line is there's a lot of different ways to access community. I think community is critically important to anybody doing BLE, whatever that looks like to you, whether it is one other person or a group. And I think you also need to be picky and careful about who you're keeping close to you in your community. And if it's not working, gently and kindly just say, it looks like we're in a different place on our journey, and I need to connect with people who are right where I am, and I don't want to hold you back or push you forward before you're ready. I mean, I think that would be the hardest thing is editing your community to make sure it serves you and the other persons. And don't. I think when you come from trauma, you can be a people pleaser, and so I think that probably is the hardest thing. If you're afraid to make connections because you're afraid they're going to be harmful, because in your past they have been. Yeah. And it means you'll also have to have an uncomfortable conversation of disconnecting with someone who does not serve your needs, and you don't serve their needs. And so I think that's the hard part. Yeah. Like finding people, they're out there through all the ways we said, but don't let fear of having to have a difficult conversation or fear of it not working out dissuade you.
Right.
You know, like Meagan said, I think it's like dating. You got to try on some different people,
Right.
You know, until you find the people that resonate with you, that are in the same place you are. Like you might find someone that's so compatible with you, but the reality is they're just in a different place in their journey.
Exactly.
But I would also say don't be hesitant to be willing to hear maybe some gentle confrontation, right? So if you are in the group and maybe you have been making some excuses about, well, I ate this, but it was okay because, right? That maybe one of the best things that you could be willing to do is to sit and hear some uncomfortable, gentle confrontation from your fellow group members, right? Saying, hey, I'm gonna point out, right, that maybe, you know, what I hear from you is XYZ, and the willingness to hear that, the willingness to confront maybe the things that are becoming your own barriers, right?
Yeah.
Because if you've been part of, you know, five different mastermind groups, and every single time, right, you're leaving because you know, you feel like people are confronting about your behavior, okay, maybe it's time to look within and say, okay, you know what, I've had 5 different conversations like this. Maybe it's time for me to be willing to look within and say, is it me?
Yeah. I think the reality is that everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone is on their own journey.
Right.
And I'm not here to judge anybody else's journey.
Yep.
But in this program, and this is my life, it has to serve me.
Yeah.
And I think I think that might sound super selfish to some people, and that's okay. Like I'm in a place where I'm okay with it.
It's not selfish.
Yeah.
But I think as women, that's the term we always
Yes.
go to, and it's there's nothing wrong with saying.
Well, and you want
this is
everyone
what I
in your
want.
group to feel that way.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. If everyone in
Yeah.
your group feels that way, like this needs to serve me and
Right.
it needs to serve you and it needs to
Right.
serve you. And if it's not serving each of us individually and collaboratively, then it is not a good group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Any more thoughts on that, Robin, about community or?
I really see community as the key, right? I think in one of our previous episodes, we had kind of talked about the rat park, right? The happy place, that you build for yourself, right? I use the term, you know, build your forest. You've got to kind of build your happy, peaceful place. And a really successful, supportive community is a huge element of that rat park. We are human beings. We are all about attachment and connection. And so a place where you have connection with people that feel like Bonny had named, people that feel safe, right? That it feels safe for me to be vulnerable. Maybe that means it also feels safe for me to gently confront someone that I really care about. I think that's key, and I don't think we can you know, toot that horn enough about community and connection.
Yeah. Enough that we decided to do another podcast on
There we
it.
go.
Thanks, guys, so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.